Y'all said nine. Six. Can I get adoption of the open meeting agenda? Motion to adopt the. You have a quorum? Yeah. Yeah. I need a motion. Someone?
I move we adopt the agenda as printed.
Okay, I need a second.
I second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as printed. There any discussion?
Just one moment. President,
Yes.
I wanted to possibly make an amendment.
Okay.
Wanted to see if we can have bills to be approved,
Mhm.
4.7, put into
New business?
new business. Just want to review that.
Okay.
So I so motion that I motion for an amendment to the current motion, that 7.4, put into new business for discussion.
Second. We need a second. We need a second. All right, it's been moved, it's been properly moved and seconded, we move 7.4 to 8.7 on the agenda. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone that does not wish 7.4 to be moved to 8.7? All right, and that motion is approved by unanimous consent. So we'll go back to the original motion to approve the agenda with the amended 7.4 into 8.7. Is there any discussion about the new agenda? Is there anyone in favor of the new agenda? Seeing none, it's approved by unanimous consent. All right, we're into applause. Mr. O'Dean.
I'll go ahead and take it. Yes. Good evening. Tonight, Truman Elementary's Shine and Epic students are this month's Applause honorees. Truman's Shine group is an all-girl group, and Epic is an all-boys group of 5th and 4th grade students. Each group meets for 5 weeks with Truman's family school liaison, Mrs. Tracy Pettis Johnson. The groups engage in relevant topics which promote self-worth, leadership, and the importance of being a positive influence for their family, school, and community. In collaboration with parents and district community role models, the Shine Epics groups strive to build students up and create in them the ability to be goodwill ambassadors, honor and educate and motivate others to be the best they can be. And we have several students from both groups. We also have Principal Herrera and Mrs. Pettis Johnson on. So I will turn it over to one of you. I don't think there's too many for everybody to unmute and say hi, but I'll let you guys introduce your kiddos.
Ms. Pettis Johnson, I'll let you take it because this is your brainchild. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am honored. I know Damien Bell. It's hard to see because there's a host of pages here. But I did see Damien Bell here, one of our Epic boys, and I did believe I see a couple of our Shine girls. They're here, but their picture's not up quite yet. I am just honored to be part of an amazing group. Shine has been existing for 3 years. And we thought it would be the next best thing is to bring Epic, which are our boys, as you can see in the picture. They are not only amazing scholars, but we also follow the superhero theme. And so right now we are uncovering and discovering and sharing our superpowers. Our group has placed their superpowers all throughout our room here that we use to have our meetings. Also, they are ambassadors. So they help new kiddos who are new to Truman, show them where the library, show them where they become lunch bunch with students and kiddos, or to provide friendship. They also are going to be helping kiddos how to tie shoes. And so there's a service component to the group. Also, they also have families that are super supportive and very proud of their children. And we have guest speakers that come in and speak regarding what it's like to, why did you choose your career? But the kids take it away because they ask amazing questions, thoughtful questions. So Shine and Epic embrace their uniqueness, but they also know their purpose. And I want to end that their purpose is to serve their family, their school, and also their community. So proud of Shine girls and our Epic boys.
And Ms. Pettis Johnson, they have been so patient waiting. I want to make sure they each get to say hello so we can see them. Can you call the ones one by one who you know are online here so they can unmute and say hello so we can see them?
Kamarion, if he's here. Okay. I do see Damian Bell. Damian.
Hi.
That's one of our Epic boys. Someone else said hello. Okay.
Kiera's on.
Kiera's on. Hi, Kiera.
Hi.
Is Torian Bryan on? Darius? Any of our Epic or Shine? I think those are only two I have. I see that's on right now. Is there anyone else I missed? Oh, he's like me. But I think you're not part of, you are an Epic boy for sure. You're not Truman Epic boy right now, but you are definitely Epic. Anyone else that I missed? Ms. Herrera, do you see anyone else?
No, it's actually Demaya Summers. I think, isn't that correct? Yes, I'm sorry. Your name says Kiera, but it's Demaya. I apologize.
Demaya.
Well, thank you all each for coming tonight, and thank you for all you're doing in your groups, and we appreciate your patience tonight with us, and thank you for joining us. And we have special certificates that we are going to send your way. Ms. Herrera, was there one more thing? Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We're proud of you all.
Thank you.
And we have one more student who we are honoring this evening as well. And it is Mr. Obing's October Above and Beyond Award recipient, who is Peyton Jones, a first grade student at Millennium at Santa Fe. Peyton is a leader inside and outside of the classroom. He continuously looks out for peers, ensuring they feel comfortable and safe. One day at recess, there was a crowd of students trying to go down the slide. There was a student that kept getting frustrated because other students kept jumping in front of her. Peyton was able to calm the student down while getting her turn to go down the slide. Not only is Peyton a student with good character, he is also a top scholar. He is one of the highest in the first grade for reading and math. He also demonstrates appropriate behavior and is a great role model for his peers. Thank you, Peyton, for being such a fantastic scholar. I know we have his principal, Mrs. McDaniel, on, and I believe Peyton is joining us as well. Mrs. McDaniel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Do you want to introduce Peyton?
Yes, I'd like everyone to get to know Peyton Jones. I'd like to say that he often makes sure that students that are playing by themselves, he makes sure he includes them and he becomes friends with them. So we just want to recognize Peyton. Peyton, are you here? Let's see.
Oh, there he is. You want to unmute and say hello?
I thought Peyton took He's out there helping.
Say hello, Peyton, so everyone can see your face.
Hello.
Okay. Hello, congratulations. We are so proud of you, HMC1 proud.
Thank you.
Now, I know Superintendent Obing wants to say something, but we're having an echo issue, so he can't. I know he's excited about getting to meet you earlier this week, and I'm sure wants to know what you're going to do with all your money.
What are you gonna do with your money? I'm just gonna.
Ask Peyton if he take me to lunch.
Peyton, Superintendent Obing wants to know if you're taking him to lunch. You don't have to, by the way.
No, I'm going to get me a mansion.
There you go. Start a down payment. Well, congratulations. We're proud of you.
Say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Audience comments. Yeah, we'll click it right in. We'll give him this time. I know I see his name. Mr. Reagan.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
All right. Well, thank you. Good evening to board members. Good evening, Superintendent Obing, President of board members. Today I am, first of all, thank you all for all the upgrades that have been going on around our district. I want to really give some praises about the school, the scoreboard that has been up over at the Ruskin High School. But as we all know, as we looked around at our facilities, and I know that we all are not happy with things that are going on. Yet we do understand that COVID has been somewhat a downplay of the projects that are going on. But my plea to the Board of Equalization is if you can get out and look around or visit your schools and see some of the things that are going on inside of them. I also would like to make one suggestion on some of those things. There has been a lot of fights. There has been a lot of things that are going on. I would like to ask maybe the superintendent along with the athletic director when it comes to our football games, maybe try to move them on Saturdays, so that therefore you will have the morning to help you out. I want to thank you all for everything, and that is it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reagan. And do we have any more last minute? Anything? All right, we're at 6.0 superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure if the technology is working. Can you hear me out there? Yeah, good. Okay. Just a couple of quick updates. First, I wanted to congratulate all our principals out there. It is Principal Month this month, and then all our executive leadership team recognize our principals at our meetings. But I know you got a special congratulations on behalf of the board from our board president sent out a really nice meeting. If we had time, I would love to show it, but I know the principals have it and received some good comments from the principals, President Townsend, that thank you for acknowledging their hard work throughout the pandemic and continue on to do that on behalf of all board members. The next piece I wanted to kind of talk about is a little bit about COVID. You know, we initiated some opportunities for our staff in terms of getting vaccinated and also getting tested. And Dr. Skinner has kind of led the way in terms of working with our hospital partners. And we've had great success. I think we had over 800 participants in our first opportunity. And we boosted our vaccination rate up from probably somewhere below 50% to 75%. And on record, we had about 80%. We're still tracking the numbers. But that's phenomenal to make that happen within less than a matter of weeks. So thank you to all our staff who cooperated in that endeavor, our nurses and staff, and of course with Dr. Skinner and all the network that's been done there. I could not leave the comments without having a few words around Smith Hill. We've had a lot of conversations regarding Smith Hill, and I've talked to quite a few community members regarding Smith Hill Middle School. So I thought it would be prudent to just share some of the thoughts. One thing I want to say is that we have close to 1,200 students in that middle school, which is a large middle school. Really should be half of that or divided into two. But I would say that we've got so many excellent students in that school. And if you look at some of the achievements from last year and this year, you will see on record that they're thriving through the pandemic and doing a great job. At the same time, there are challenges. And some of the challenges are not unique to us in terms of things that are happening nationwide, in terms of stage fightings and things like that. But we still have our own challenges within our district as well too. And we've got a group of parents, staff members, administrators that are working and putting together a plan to address some of these pieces. We know that we have to do some restructuring procedures, and setting expectations for students, and holding everyone accountable and being consistent around that. But there is one piece that we cannot certainly do alone, and I think that's a critical piece, and that is the community and parent engagement piece. We need community members and parents to come forward when we ask, if we're looking at some new initiatives and some support that can support our staff and our students. Many people have seen some of the videos that have gone around, some of the positive videos around like watchdog dads and things like that. So we're having conversations around how do we get our parents and community members more engaged in the process and raising our young middle schoolers and being part of that process. So if you see a posting out looking for your input or coming to the school to give some insight on next actions, please take the opportunity to do that. And let me thank some of the community members who have already reached out and offered their assistance in that endeavor. So look forward to the next several weeks as we start to implement some next steps. Next week, the staff at Smith Hill are starting a new reorganization in terms of working with the students and staff in terms of getting ready to ensure that we have the most safe, equitable, and high-achieving space we can for the rest of the year. So look out for that. So thank you, Mr. President. Those are my comments for this tonight.
That's all right. All right, we're at consent items. Remember, 7.4 has been moved to new business. Is everyone have everyone seen the consent items?
There's no discussion on consent, either you pull it out. This is all right. No, that would be their superintendents. So there has been one item removed from the consent item at the adoption of the agenda, so that's been continued.
Right.
So now you just need a vote on consent items.
So there's no,
You're calling for a vote.
yeah. Anyone in, wanting to disapprove the consent items? Seeing none, that's approved by unanimous consent. All right, new business. A, approval of substitute, new substitute teacher rates.
Thank you. I'll ask, Mr. Kopmeyer from.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members. The item you have before you tonight is the administration's recommendation to increase our sub-rate pay. Many of you are aware, it's been on the news, and besides serving on a board, that right now we are in a critical situation when it comes to the substitute pool, not just for Hickman Mills, but for all school districts. We are encouraged by the news that DESE announced that they will provide the alternative method of certification. For years. The requirement has been at least 60 college hours to be qualified for a substitute certificate. That will be changing in November, and the trial program they had earlier will become permanent in that they will candidates will be able to take an online course in order to gain substitute certification. So we are all hopeful in terms of where I sit from in the HR department that will help us realize a bump in our substitute pools. At the same time, our current substitute rate is one of the lowest in the metro area. Ours was stagnant for many years at $104 a day. 2 years ago, we raised it by $6, while many districts raised theirs by 20 or 30. So the recommended rates that are on the memo this evening are raising our daily rate from 110 to 136 a day, which would put us in the top tier. Many of our neighbors that touch our district are currently at 130. Our long-term sub rate would increase from 148 to 166. And then we would also have what we call a building sub rate that would be 170 a day. And what a building sub is a person that reports every day, regardless of whether someone's absent or not. So if I have 3 teachers out at my building and 2 of those get picked up as a principal, I can flex that person in the uncovered room, the one that didn't get filled. Or if I need them in somewhere else one day, if I need them in the front office, I can flex them to that space. It's been very helpful. We haven't been able to fill all of our building sub slots so far this year, but we think that these rates will help with that. I'm clear in the memo that this won't take us to 100% fill rate based on the change, because it is based on COVID, the other things that have occurred. The sub pool in general is going to take some time to recover. I think this new certification method will help us as we get deeper into the school year. But this will definitely place us. Pay will not be a reason a sub does not pick up a absence for Hickman Mills when they get that notification, because the way it is, they're just it's all automated, they're notified, and then they have the option to kind of shop around for the districts that have absences. So this would put us in the top tier, these rate changes. And I don't foresee, and I never want to overpromise, but I don't foresee, I think everyone has gotten to a point where this is going to kind of be the max amount for substitute rates going forward. It needed to be increased. We had all been in the same place around $99 to $110 a day for years. And that just wasn't sustainable for anyone interested in being a sub. So I believe, and again, I don't want to overpromise, but I believe the 130 range that everyone has ended up at is probably a long-term daily rate that we will see going forward. So the recommendation before you this evening is to increase those rates effective November 8th, because we would begin working to get the systems updated so that those rates would be the pay rates.
Mrs. Scott, can you put up the document so you can read the recommendation?
Sorry.
printing out the document? It's in the affirmative. Looks like it.
So we have a motion.
8.1. 8.1.
I recommend that we approve the approval of the updated
Thank you.
rate as presented.
And if you scroll to the bottom, it has the recommendation.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve these updated pay rate substitutes beginning November 8th, 2021. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President.
Director. Director.
Casey, couple questions. So how you said that taking it to this rate would make us the highest in the metro area?
Yes.
Who is second to us if we go to this rate?
So Center and Lee Summit currently are at 130. This is Kansas City also right now. And then the long-term sub rate, the highest amount is 160 up in North Kansas City.
Excuse me?
North Kansas City has a long-term sub rate of 160 and our proposed is 166.
Okay. And so, in your opinion, would this kind of set off an arms race where we do this today and then, next month all the other districts are at 130, 140 or
right.
145?
No, and Director McGee, I think that's a good question. I don't, and like I said, I don't know what other districts will do. I will tell you, I get a sense from conversations with my colleagues that sit in my seat that I think everyone has gotten to a place where they feel like this is as high as we're going to go, and this should be enough to attract the people that we want to attract. And I think the alternative certification is really going to be a change in the game because, a lot of people with 60 college hours either could have become a para with us with full benefits, and a constant salary, or be a sub. So I think the online capability is going to really change the interest in the pool, and that 136 will be a very attractive rate.
Okay. And I wanted to follow up too with regard to are teachers getting paid if they are subbing for these, filling in for these plan periods? Is that considered subbing? Are they getting compensated for that?
No. So they rotate. If a teacher is absent, what the administrators do is they schedule other teachers to rotate through and provide coverage of that absence. So what we have implemented, one of the other strategic plans that I shared with April Hale, because we've been in conversation with the HMNEA about that, is it's called a plan to leave policy, not to leave the district, but plan time to getting leave time. So if you're a teacher that has to use their plan to cover an unfilled absence, you would receive leave time that would be banked in your overall available personal leave.
Okay. And I guess my question is the sense amongst the staff that they would rather be paid versus getting the leave? Or was that just the only?
That was one of the options. We've discussed pay, and I think they understood in the conversation that we had that would be something that would come up in the collective bargaining agreement discussions this spring. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When you said the online portion, will they be required to have the 60 hours to do the online substitution?
No, it will become either or. So you will still be able to get a sub-cert with the 60 hours, or you can enroll in the online course and pass that course and become certified without the 60 hours.
And the course doesn't require to take the course high school diploma. What are the requirements to take that?
Yes, the base is a high school diploma or equivalent, and then passing that online course.
Two more follow-ups.
That was it.
I want to follow up on something you said. So
as you're talking about using the system of rotating teachers for plan periods, how do you make that equitable? Is that by choice, or is that by they just getting assignments?
Right. So what we have first is we have a tiered system that engages non-classroom staff. So there's a tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So if a principal has an unfilled absence, they go through that list first to, so if you have a FSL or non-classroom staff, they're prioritized to cover those unfilled absences first. Then the next is at the secondary level, and I don't know if you'd want to get way down in the weeds, but Katie would probably be able to describe, but based on who's absent and then whose plan times would fit in coverage for that absence that doesn't have a sub. But they try to spread it out and do a rotation so it isn't just like the same 3 people. But people on that tier system may do it more often, but classroom teachers, principals attempt to do the best rotation based on whoever is unfilled for that day.
And the other question I want to follow up with is if a teacher's using their plan time to sub for another teacher, how does that impact student achievement if they're no longer able to plan for their own classes? And how do we make up for that? And how does that affect student achievement?
Right. No, I think in the memo I captured that this piece is a huge teacher morale piece. It's just not about getting more subs. It's like when teachers are having to cover these unfilled absences, which is the reason we had the conversation with HMNEA, we understand it is I'm a former building principal. I was a teacher in KCPS where a lot of times we split classrooms almost every day because of a lack of subs. So that's one of the reasons we felt it was important. Like, what are the strategies we can put into place to try to start mitigating this the best that we can, even though we know the sub pool is so limited, because it is a teacher morale issue. Because if I give up my plan that day, I just didn't get a plan for that day. I know that they work the best that they can so that you're not missing plan every single day. It may be 1, maybe 2 a week, but it's an issue.
Are you aware of other districts that pay teachers for
Yes.
subbing for block?
Yes.
And how well does that work for them in terms of helping with this situation?
Well, I don't, when you're short on subs, you're just ending up then you're just paying your staff to cover. Most of them are set at $26. If I cover a plan time, I get a $26 stipend for that time that I covered. The rates vary, but that's a pretty general amount. I don't, to me, it doesn't help when you're still not getting plan. Whether do I want to have $26 or do I before taxes and everything else, or would I have loved to have my plan time for that day to really sit and plan or call parents or pull in a kid to meet with them?
If I just add to that, those are good line of questions. And one of the things we want to lose sight of, this is a response to a shortage we have in terms of teacher shortage as well as teacher absences. We're tracking the difference between the amount of absences we've had previously and during the COVID period. We've had an increase in teacher absences. I'm not sure exactly what's precipitating that, but that's where it is, and it does affect the students at the end. So we're trying to find ways to cover that, and we may not be able to do it 100%, but at least we can try to compensate the teachers as best as possible.
Yes.
Right? In many cases, there are days when there are no substitutes at all, and principals are running around covering and doing all kinds of things. We're hoping that this initiative will close the gap. We haven't yet started that, so I don't think you said that at the beginning. We're just implementing this now, so we'll be able to track and see how well it works and collect the data in terms of absences and coverages, and also look at how it's affecting students, and then be able to respond to that if we need to. Right?
Correct.
So it's not something that we have been doing, so we're not thinking we've been doing this. We're just getting started now.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Casey, I want to commend the team as far as being able to find support for the teachers that we are retaining and helping to maintain what we have. And I can understand based on the fact that, this thing's just gonna talk, that this has been throughout the pandemic as well as throughout even before the pandemic, the aspect of teacher retention and the aspect of the stress that teachers are under, and even in so much as they're utilizing their planning time as well as any time that they have, that this is going to give them some respite and allow them to be able to focus on their classrooms and focus on being able to attend their students rather than I guess, attend their own well-being. So I'm thankful.
Is there any more discussion? So we're ready to vote. The motion on the floor is to approve the new substitute teacher rate starting November 8th, 2021. Is anyone like in favor of approving that? All right, the motion is passed by unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board.
Thank you.
All right, so bond update.
Oh, Bob, yes, Dr. Murkison. And you would have,
Good evening, board president and directors. Going to introduce two young men y'all been hearing from monthly, Mr. Justin Durham from Hollis and Miller and Mr. Marquise Canyon from Universal. I think both of them are on. Yeah. Can you see which one's on?
Mr. Scott, Robert, you want to put up their PowerPoint and they're going to speak to that. So
Put the PowerPoint.
put up the PowerPoint from the bond update, because they're going to speak to that.
Mr. Durham, would you like to go first before Mr. Canyon?
Sure. While we wait, I can give a brief update on, so what we're going to be moving into next is our phase 2 projects. So we have 4 schools that we will be working on for next year, and we're going to start design on those here at the 1st of November in hopes to get these projects out to bid much sooner than we did this previous package, because we know that lead times have been a major issue. And so in working with Universal, Marquise and Joel and their team, we feel it's best to try to have these drawings out December, January to give us plenty of time to order materials and get things on site so that we don't have a repeat of the delays that we've had this summer due to no fault of anybody here. It's just supply chains kind of broke down during our project, and we've been waiting, for example, 6 months to get light fixtures. So we want to get these projects out to bid a little bit earlier and try to get ahead of that for next year.
If we can go back to slide 1. Good evening, everyone. So right now we are just under 10 million installed in work, and we did receive some items, so probably by the next board update will be a little over 50% in total project value complete at that point. Next, please. So here you've seen this before, and it's just going through the MBE participation that we had. And so I did want to point out, as I've talked month over month, I think, about what the challenges were and the qualified contractors that we did have in the market. And so next time we're going to try and do something a little bit different to see if we might be able to increase that number. But right now, based off of the disparity study that the city of Kansas City has, 15% MBE participation and 10% WBE. And so currently in the totality of the district's bond, we're exceeding that by 5%. And keep in mind, I still have 2 other minority companies that are on a billing service for dumpsters and toilets and things like that. Next, please. Okay, So what this is a picture of the framing in the theater at Ruskin High School. We're about 75% complete here. I wanted to show you, looking back, I didn't think that I showed very many pictures of what was actually happening in that space for you to get a visual on. Next, please. And here, again, showing you we've repaired the ceiling and framings, and seats are a bit delayed. We're expecting to get those sometime toward the end of the year, and hopefully we could be able to install those over Christmas break. Next, please. In at Ruskin, we're at roughly 80%, a little bit higher now. We've had furniture show. Our Tectum panels, the sound absorbing panels that go on the ceiling, they've showed up. Light fixtures, as Justin mentioned a moment ago, still delayed. We ordered those back in April, May timeframe, and we still don't have them, the permanent fixtures. But here's a view of what it would look like with the soffit, and all of those holes are where the lights will be recessed. Next, please. Music and band rooms, we are right around 75%. What you're looking at here on the top half of the picture, we have to put drywall. The bottom half is all of the storage containers for instruments and things of that nature, and we need to do the floor in that space. Next, please. This is a photo of Burke, and so we're complete with all of the non-priority restrooms. As far as tile goes, we are getting partitions installed now. Some of those have come in for a good majority of the elementary schools. Next, please. Burke also had an asphalt overlay, which is complete. This is a shot of Compass. We actually went through and redid the floor and the baseboard. So a week ago, we needed to clean all of this up. I think we've gotten it all cleaned up and it's a usable space now. Next, please. And here's another shot of the other space and the flooring and baseboard work that was done there. Over at Dobbs, this is a good shot of what the restrooms would look like once all of the fixtures are on. We do have a couple ceiling tile we have to drop in that area, but with all of the sinks, all of the tile, the flooring complete, this is a finished product in that area. Next. Also at Dobbs, I showed this because the admin space is about 95%, as of today, about 95% complete. What you're looking at here is walls painted, baseboards in, carpets down. This material here is the acoustical ceiling tile. Normally that's a, I don't know, month item. It took us about 4 months to get it. So that's where we are at Dobbs. Next. Irvin, here, when I took this photo, we were starting demo in the bathrooms. We have all of the material. It was our understanding that Irvin had the highest population of children at any one time. So we didn't want to touch their restrooms. A lot of those restrooms are within classroom spaces as well. So we did start demo. There were 34 total restrooms to redo. And I'm just showing you a shot of the demo work that's happened in those spaces that we were able to touch. Next, please. Another shot of that. And since these photos, we've actually been able to get 3 restrooms tiled, inspected, corrected, and turned back over to the district. And Irvin has provided us with 5 more restrooms, I believe, that we are currently working in. Next, please. So here's what the partitions look like. We've got them coming in. Ingles, I think we have those the fixtures actually installed at this point. I do owe everyone an apology. It was brought to my attention that I flip-flopped the E and L in Ingles. That wasn't intentional. So I apologize if I offended anyone. Next slide, please. Ingles admin space is just about at the same spot as Dobbs is, so we're roughly 95% complete. Again, walls painted, baseboard down, doors hung, carpet down, so I think we're doing pretty good there. Again, I wanted to show you restrooms it's been really a big ticket item because students need those spaces. And so it is important to me and to my staff that we have on the ground that we get these done right and to the quality that's expected. So at Warford, we're moving right along as well, and wanted to show that to you. Next slide. This is the admin space. We are only about 60% in that area. And really, that's just a delay in the fire rated glass that's there. It's already a long lead item. Typically, it's a 12-week item, which, you know, that 3-month time frame. In this case, it's doubled. So we're expecting to see this glass beginning of December. Hopefully we get it sooner. We've taken some initiatives to try and expedite now because some of the manufacturers are agreeing to those things at this point. Next, please. So last couple of months, I've been talking about materials and what those delays are just in general terms. And I wanted to show you from a scheduling standpoint of what we are expecting currently. So I did this PowerPoint, I believe a week ago. And so I am expecting the remainder of the toilet partitions to arrive at some point next week. Roofing materials, that is a problem industry-wide for every roof. They have a problem getting fasteners. We are expecting, I believe I have Burke and Ingles remaining, and I think that I will have those in mid-November. Sound absorbing panels, I've gotten some of those, so we're going to start working to install in the evenings to get those into the schools and get them up. Gym equipment, same deal, that's at Ruskin. We think we're going to get that mid-December. And so the goal is to be able over Christmas break, should that arrive when the manufacturer is telling us, the goal is to go in, remove the gym equipment scoreboard that's currently in the main gym, have it back up. So when the school returns after winter break, you know, they have an all new gym at that point. Ticket booth, I know some are probably driving around and not seeing that going on. We do have all the material on site. Weather has not been our friend over the last couple of weeks. But we've got it graded, it's been passed and inspected on the foundation. So now we can start to build that. And then the secure entry portion of Ruskin, we're expecting that material mid-month of November. And I think that's all for me at this point. Are there any questions for me?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Boom. I can't see you though.
Yes, see me. Okay. Talking out really important.
Miss Graves, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask you about the restrooms in Dobbs. Just heard that they're not near completed. So what's the percentage of the restrooms at Dobbs?
So on non-priority restrooms, I'm gonna jump back. I have my slide up. At Dobbs, I am on the non-priority restrooms. I believe I'm around 95% complete on those non-priority restrooms. And I say non-priority restrooms specifically because the users of the building, the principals in particular, chose which restrooms they absolutely had to have. And since then, we have been working to complete all of the others as the material come in.
Or you just waiting on the material? Is that the big holdup in terms of completing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Director Kendrick. I just have some concerns on the slow progress. I know we started this project in last year, and there's been no work on some of the schools at all. I visited Warford on a daily basis. I haven't seen any work in there at all. Even in the mornings when I drop my granddaughter off and when I pick her up, haven't seen any work. I visited the bathrooms. I didn't see a bathroom that looked like the picture you showed me. So I'm wondering what the issue is. I watched 3 houses go up in my neighborhood within 6 weeks, and we're still working on bathrooms. And the principal's office, she's still working out her broom closet pretty much. So is it we don't have enough workmen, not just the material, but what else is the issue that's slowing up this project?
So I think
Would like to know where their dollars are going.
I think that's a fair question. It has been really the same song across the industry where it's material and then manpower. And so you have a bit of both of those things going on. Warford, we've actually done a great deal of work there, roofs, RTU units, along with their playgrounds, and we've gotten their bathrooms to a point, but without that material, there's nothing for me to install at that moment. And so until I get it, I don't.
I'm sorry, are we using just one supplier, or are you looking outside of other entities to find the materials, or are we just waiting on one supplier? I mean, I'm sure bathroom stalls, I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to find.
So there's a material specification from a construction standpoint. When we bid a job out, there's material that is specified and that has been chosen that we go out and acquire, and we acquire that typically through subcontractors. From a standpoint of tile, I think the short answer would be if I change suppliers, then I risk a further delay because they didn't originally have this material in their pipeline. And additionally, there's no guarantee I'm going to get the same quality of material that was originally specified. So to get what we have at this point, I did make concessions, and we took that over to the owner's rep at the time and to the architect. And so, but I can't concede on every material item that the district has, or you'll get a lesser product than what you're paying for.
Okay. What about the principals, the entryway of Warford? The secretary is still sitting out in the foyer. There's been plastic up on the front of the office since school started.
Yes, ma'am.
The hold up on the office and the entryway.
So that's the fire rated glass that I was talking about at Warford. The fire rated glass, normally a 12-week item. So we thought we were going to have that within 3 months, which is what's typical. But at this point, it's pushed to 6.
Okay. I think we need to go back to the table and find other resources to find the materials that we need. It is unacceptable that we've been in school since August and our schools are still looking half done, they're not completed at all. And you're talking about going into a second phase. We haven't even completed the first. That's all the comments I have.
Your comments are noted, Director Kendrick.
Thank you.
Mr. President. I was going to ask, thank you for the presentation, and just going over going over your slides, and I appreciate your update when it came to the MBE, and WBE. And I know that we used to have it listed where those who are, those companies that are being utilized, and the only reason why I'm asking is because I usually look at those companies and just kind of look at them. I also noticed that there's a person I hadn't heard from them. I understand that you and Justin usually present, but I also saw that Mrs. McCall was on the call. And I was going to ask to her. But more to the, not even so much the criticism, more or less the feedback. If it could be presented, the aspect of those construction companies that are the MBEs and the WBs, and I just want to see them. And the reason why is I heard that the majority of them, the majority of companies are being utilized for, what did you say? I think you said for dumpsters. Yeah, thanks. And I just want to see what other efforts or whatever utilization of looking into the MBEs and WBEs to be able to accommodate more than just taking out trash.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. Can you say that sentence one more time, please?
Sure. I said I just want to be able to look at these the companies that are being utilized, and I know that of the companies that are being utilized, one, it just makes me feel better, not just as a person who pays into this fund, but also just a representation of those who are. Just looking at those MBEs and those WBEs in the aspect of how they're being utilized. So I heard that the majority of them are being utilized for dumpsters, and I want to see. So if that can just be made available, and the only other comment that I had was just in regards to Ms. McCall, if Ms. McCall had anything to add.
So I'll respond first, and then if she's there, she can go. So the majority of I think there's a misunderstanding in what the utilization is of the MBE contractors that you have on site. I removed the slide that I had previously, showed it to you a couple of months. So your electricians, both on Ruskin and the elementary schools, both MBE companies, the earthwork company that has the entire earthwork package is MBE, the framing and drywaller MBE company. And so I mentioned the other MBEs for like the dumpsters because they're the only MBE company in the city that exists for that, and we were able to secure them for your projects.
Awesome.
So I'll put that slide back up and show that to you, and I will add what the dollar value is. And so if you look at that slide, your MBE companies actually carry just over $3 million compared to the WBE. And so I think your MBE is roughly about $1 million higher, which is atypical in this type of work.
Yeah, and please do not take this as a criticism, but rather feedback in the aspect of being able to see.
Oh, no, sir. I'm good. Latasha, are you on there?
Yes, I'm here, Marquise. Sorry.
Hey, Ms. McCall. I was just seeing if you had anything to add. I just hadn't heard from you in a while. Just I know you were part of it.
Oh, I'm doing fine. You know, I have a superintendent, we're in BE, WBE. We're general contractor like Universal. They definitely have given us our share. I have a full-time superintendent on staff at all times. I think Rob has 3 elementary schools down there. I think his frustration definitely, like Marquis said, has been the material. And, I think it's everybody. It's a lot of jobs right now. It's just hard to get material. And I heard Ms. Kendrick talk about, houses and different things, but I think it's a difference between commercial construction, and what's needed in schools versus, multifamily housing or single family housing. So, I mean, we're seeing that in both. As you know, we do K through 12 schools. I'm seeing it right now on one of my daycare facilities that we're building. I mean, it's all over. We're just having trouble getting supplies. But we're on site every day. Rob is, so he's there, and I'm hearing the frustration, every day, from your school and a lot of my other clients as well. So I know we're doing everything we can.
Thank you.
No problem.
I had a question for Justin. Justin, you had mentioned at one point about just, I guess in general, about materials. And I know we see in the news where the materials are on some freight, sea liner in LA or New York somewhere, and they're trying to get these ports to be working 24 hours. And I'm assuming that's contributing to why we can't get these materials, because they are in a box on a boat somewhere, right? And so I know that's why these timelines are very difficult right now. I know you had mentioned before that, whereas before some materials they tell you to get in 3 months, and now they're not even giving you deadlines when you may receive them. Is that correct?
That is, and it's not just Hickman Mills. I can tell you guys that I'm working on several other schools right now that were supposed to be done in August. I'll just give you an exact example. Independent School District, I'm doing auditoriums for their high schools for the summer, just very similar to what we're doing at Ruskin. They were supposed to be done in August, and I still don't have ceilings in Truman High School's auditorium because we do not have light fixtures. One of your guys' thoughts, and we agreed with it, is, to switch manufacturers, maybe even switch products. We did that for the Independent School District, and it did not bear fruit. We did change lights. We went to something that we thought we could get faster, and that did not come to fruition. We were told it would be about 6 weeks quicker to change. We changed, and then those dates pushed out to be about the same that they would have been originally. So, I mean, we're doing everything that we can behind the scenes to give you guys, exactly what we've shown you in the renderings and in the drawings and that we've discussed for months. But you're absolutely correct. It's, we're told by suppliers and manufacturers that, materials will be available in 6 weeks. Well, 6 weeks turns into 8 weeks, which turns into 12 weeks. And we don't know exactly what the issues are. Some of the manufacturers that we have are like light fixtures we get out of Missouri, and they just can't get the components. They can't get the ballast. They can't get the LED bulbs and the transformers. So I wish I had a good answer on why, whether it's the supply chain, materials are sitting in boats at the ports, or we can't get them on a truck to get them here. It's probably all of the above, and it's not just one scope package. It's not just lights. It's, auditorium seating. It's, glass, doors, hardware. It's kind of across the board. So we're just doing everything that we can to push people to get us materials. But the problem is that everybody's pushing everybody to get materials. Independence wants theirs. Grandview wants theirs. You guys want yours, and everybody's kind of in the same boat, and we're just in a waiting game. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? All right, seeing none, we go to legal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murchison.
8.3, Board of Equalization.
President, this was a deferred item from the board's previous meeting. And it had to do with the Board of Equalization, and the board had determined to defer to this board meeting. And I'll just read the recommendation that was on hand was to recommend approval of Lakeisha Briggs as a district representative on the Jackson County Board of Equalization. I know board members have received the memo, they've had opportunities to questions, so I give the recommendation to you.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the nomination of Keisha Briggs to the Board of Equalization.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, we approve the appointment of Markeisha Briggs to the Board of Equalization. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, let's take a vote. Roll call vote. Ms. Graves.
Aye.
Ms. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Watson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Ms. Kendrick.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. Aye. Next, Ms. Carter. Is Ms. Carter wrong?
She's there.
Is she on?
Yeah.
Ms. Carter?
Aye.
All right, 7-0.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Just to make sure this is a public meeting.
Ms. Carter, could you show us your face?
Oh, can you see it? Oh, sorry. Aye.
All right. Yeah. All right, first reading of policy.
So we, Dr. Spin has been doing some extensive work in terms of looking at the policies the board needs to update. This is not a presentation to approve. This is just advising the board that he'll be recommending these policies to go to the policy committee to start the process of reviewing and bringing back to the board and public for approval. So, Dr. Skinner, you want to give a thumbnail of your, I know they've all read this in your summary, but.
I was like, you did a good job. I can go home back and sit down now. Good evening. Like I said, you know, we are a little bit behind in updating and improving policies. We have policies that we receive from MSBA on a routine basis. They give us like a group together. And to be honest, we are behind a couple of groups. So I am bringing 2020A and 2021A and 2021B. There's approximately 35 policies, a couple new, most are updated. And to be honest, we just received last week a new flight of 2021C, which are not in these, but we'll be bringing them later. So I am recommending that the policy committee meet in November prior to the board meeting so that we can discuss everything and then bring back for a second reading in November this group and possibly start looking at the next group. So again, what I've done in this, just so you'll know though, is these are Carla's basically notes of basically all of the summaries of what the changes are. So you will know at the policy committee when we meet in November, I will bring the full policies for everybody to view, but this is just really a summary of the changes.
Yes.
In the aspect of, these are the suggested policy changes, correct?
Correct.
So it would be something that we have to vote on.
Right, this is something that you can look at them and decide if you want to adopt as they're presented or if you need to make amendments for yourself.
Okay. I think the I know that we at the beginning of this year kind of had worked on trying to do more of a monthly review with the board and looking at these policies, or just looking at our policies as a whole, just kind of reframe them to make sure that we have them up to date. Any of the suggestions to how many policies total currently?
in this group to look at, a little over, about 37, 38. I can't remember if it's exactly 37 or 38.
All right, I think, yeah, I'm gonna be quiet. Go ahead.
I mean, and again, you do have to remember with COVID and everything else, there has been, a lull in this. And so, we're really quote catching up at this point. There's one group that really is just for like virtual. That's, they have a new policies coming in to talk about what is the difference between, the state MOCASE and our own virtual, VOP. And, just again, some of the others that are your typical routine updates as well.
And I really do appreciate you, as well as Carla, taking the time to kind of review these policies and look and see what essentially is needed. And hopefully us as the board and as a committee can kind of look through and provide our, for lack of a better term, expertise on these policies and be able to kind of see what is needed. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of thoroughly go through them and see what recommendations.
I mean, Carla has done an excellent job condensing everything and really surmising everything for you. But again, I will bring the full policies to the committee when we meet so that you can actually look and see where it was and, how these changes would affect it.
Absolutely. That is our role, to look at policy and actually follow through policy. I hope that board members will be able to kind of read every policy thoroughly.
So will you continue to review each, like another section of policies?
When we finish looking at what I'm presenting tonight, again, we'll take it to the policy committee, bring it back in November. There's one more ready to go when that occurs, we will be up to date.
Okay. 8.5. Board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Skinner.
Board meeting calendar change. Our meetings for November and December fall either on the holiday or right next to the holiday. So I'm looking for a motion to change the November meeting to November 18th, which is the third Thursday, and December 16th, which is the third Thursday.
President?
Yes.
I'd like to move that we recommend the superintendent's that we approve the superintendent's recommendations to adopt the change of board dates to November 18th and December 16th, 2021.
I second it.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that we.
Who would second?
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that we take the superintendent's recommendation to change the regular meeting dates for November to November 18th and for December 16th, 2021. Is there any discussion? One not in favor of changing the meeting dates. Seeing no one opposes, approved by unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. President.
8.6. Discussion on lobbyists. We'll let Mr. McKee start off.
Thank you, Mr. President. I requested that we put this on the agenda. As you know, we are in a unique situation due to us being provisionally accredited and in a climate in Jefferson City that I think that requires us to have unique representation, specifically for our school district. We are one of 5 or 6 school districts that are provisionally accredited, and so we are in a unique situation with a legislature that has now passed educational savings accounts and as well as a pro charter in the state. And I think that could be very harmful to this district if charters are expanded. And it was on a top contending for the legislative agenda last
session. I think it will be on there in the next legislative session. And so I think that's something we should look at, and looking at doing an RFP to look at different requests for proposals to get a lobbyist for the district. We had one in the past. We had one for 4 or 5 years previously. And I think that's something we should look at going back to for this legislative session upcoming in January. Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I do remember Calvin Simmons was our representative, and he came to our meetings periodically to give us an update on what's going on in Jefferson City. And I think it is important that we have someone down there advocating, for us, because we are provisionally accredited, and we just need somebody down there to tell us, what direction we need to go in, and what direction they're going in Jefferson City. So, and this is what he did. I think he was here for about 3 or 4 years, something like that.
And I think and to add to that point, I think it's also important as these bills and these legislations are being crafted, that we have someone uniquely looking out for our interests, that these, particularly these school choice bills, are not adversely affecting our district. As you know, that charter schools are allowed currently only in Kansas City School District and in St. Louis Public School District. And if that expands, there's been a push to expand that. We all know that in our first ring suburban schools, that would be Hickman, Mills, Center, Raytown, Grandview, one charter school could devastate our school district just by swiping population out of our classrooms. And so it's uniquely important at this point. And I think that this is something we consider and pushing and getting a request for proposal to see what's out there, and trying to see that we can get a representative representing our interests in the state capitol before the legislative session starts in January.
I have a question. So, is this something outside of our state representative?
Yes.
And so, is there like a particular person you have in mind, or
No.
the board's thinking of, or?
No, there's nobody in mind.
Is there a process for this?
There is. Yeah.
Lobbyists?
Yes. So we would instruct the superintendent to put out a request for proposal, and they would put out an RFP, and then other lobbyists who do the folks that do this professionally would apply and submit proposals to the board, and the board would select one of the lobbyists.
Mr. President, I have a question. So I know that we are currently a part of the Cooperating School Districts of Greater Kansas City, which which we meet with every year, that gives us their legislative review on an annual basis and the things that they're addressing. And the lobbyist actually comes and who we are able to have active conversation with, and actually presents the legislation as it's kind of gone through its annual basis. Is there any particular way that we can utilize the lobbyists that we already have access to work within our co-op, specifically being the fact that this co-op is of the Greater Kansas City area, and things kind of in legislation, things kind of usually happen in numbers. So with there being so many school districts, and with this particular lobbyist being able to advocate for not just Kansas City as well as us, that we cannot call upon them without necessarily utilizing any of the taxpayer dollars to do so.
Mr. President, can I respond to that? Yes. I agree with you, Director Watry. I think it is something that we have access to, but the issue becomes, in my opinion, we are in a co-op with many school districts that are in a different position than we are. Kansas City Public Schools, who is also provisionally accredited, has their own lobbyists. We are in a co-op with Lee Summit, Springs, Liberty, Park Hill. They are in very different academic situations than we are. And so when you talk about representing a co-op, I'm not sure that our priorities are their priorities.
And so I think we are uniquely qualified to have someone that is representing a small, suburban school district in South Kansas City, alone. And I think that's something that we need to do, and I think that's an investment in ourselves. But again, this is just simply calling for, as a board, that if we decide that we want to have a request for proposals, we will see what's out there and take proposals from various lobbyists who do this professionally for a living, and we can decide if that's a direction we want to do. This is just simply saying, looking at who's out there, what they can bring to the table to represent our district, to make sure we have adequate and the very best representation in Jefferson City in this next legislative session, which is crucial, as we know that the majority of legislators are pro-charter, pro-school choice. And for the first time, we've seen now we have educational savings accounts that you can use taxpayer money to essentially taking public money to go to private institutions. And so this is a critical time for this district to be engaged in the legislative process in a real way. And I don't think the co-op provides that for Hickman Mills particularly.
And another question, so would this lobbyist be paid by the district?
Yes, if we so choose, yes.
Just a point of information for everyone. Carol was mentioning that we used to have a lobbyist, and what we used to do was, as a board, we would set his priorities. This is what we want you to lobby on, and set the direction in which we wanted him to engage with the legislation. And I agree with Mr. McGee that our agenda may not match up with some of the surrounding agendas. If we were in a co-op with just maybe Center and Grandview and Raytown, you know, we will all have similar interests, but when you start filtering in other districts that don't have our same interests, it kind of dilutes our purpose and creates more priorities and less than our own priorities.
Yeah.
I would like to see maybe some statistics on how the lobbyist, previous lobbyist, how effective he was, and how the Kansas City lobbyist is effective before, you know, we moved into doing something, spending any money. I would like to see how effective it is. I know we have an issue right now going on with the charter schools and the vouchers, but how can one person, I'd like to see how that one person can lobby just for us, and with all the other schools issues.
Oh, thank you, President Townsend. I just wanted to give the board just a little bit of insight. I think the board is wise in having this conversation in this day and time, because public education is definitely under attack in many realms. I happened to have been to a meeting just about 2 weeks ago with the cooperative school districts, and we do have a lobbyist for that group. And yes, there is some consensus around some of these specific issues, but the board is taking the time to identify specific goals for Hickman Mills. I think it would be in the board's benefit to continue to have that conversation and think about an advocate singularly for Hickman Mills in terms of our situation where we're in. It might be advantageous to go that direction. So just based on the conversation I had at the meeting I was at last week, I mean, they did advocate for students like ours, but there's about 12 different districts around the table. So although they support some of our ideas, it's still not singularly focused on Hickman Mills. So the board wants to have a conversation and narrow the focus and identify specific priorities. I would suggest that that would be something that you'd want to think about in looking to the next step.
Mr. President?
Yes, Director.
I've been, based on your comment, Superintendent, I would want to have that conversation as a board and be able to kind of lay out some of the particular issues that we want to do. Even so much as not putting the cart before the horse, I would, before putting an RFP out, making sure we have a clear consensus amongst ourselves of what particularly we would like lobby on our behalf. I understand that probably certain board members may have, and we have board members who have sit in legislation, so have a pretty good consensus of what they think. But in order for us to be able to kind of act as a whole and be all on the same page and make sure that we're all doing what's needed, I would want us to have that conversation, even whether, I would want us to have that conversation around what are the big ticket items that we want to address that are unique to us, and make sure that we have consensus on that as well. But again, I do think that this is a good direction to go into.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I would concur with the comments made by Director Watry. I think that we can build consensus. I think we can do that. And I concur also with Director Kendrick in terms of providing those statistics that she's asking for to the board. But I do think we are on a limited time because the legislative session starts in January, and I think that putting out an RFP takes time, and going through a selection process. But if we so choose to select a company to represent the district, will take time. And I think while we're going through that process of selecting RFP, you can still get all of those relevant facts that the other directors have requested. And I actually agree. I think it's good for all board members to be on the same page and to get all relevant documents and have everyone be informed as a board. With that still being said, I would urge us to move forward, and I have a motion. I'd like to move to instruct the superintendent to put out an RFP requesting for a lobbyist and a consultant to lobby on behalf of the Hickman School District for the 2022 legislative session in the Missouri Legislature for this upcoming legislative session in January.
I second
it. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to put out an RFP for potential lobbyists for the 2022 legislative session. During the discussion. Seeing none, is there anyone not in favor of putting out for RFP? Seeing none, it's approved by unanimous consent. Just going through the discussion in my head that we just had, I would ask that the board think about whether we want to create a ad hoc committee to get these answers for us, or do we want to create have a special session where we all sit down and talk about it. Just think about those, and maybe if you have a preference of either just let me or Superintendent O'Bean know, and we're gonna figure out what we want to do.
Mr. President, I think that would be a good idea, and I'll rely on your judgment to get that going.
All right, now we're at 8.7, which used to be 7.4.
I'm the one, probably.
Bills to be approved.
So I pulled this agenda item because I had noticed that within our, excuse me, as I get to our agenda, I noticed that that there wasn't any items put on here as far as an approval of our budget. And usually that's kind of the consensus. It's what I'm used to seeing. At least being able to go through a meeting where we're at least addressing the budget. The one thing I did do is as it was pulled, I was able to pull the bills that were to be approved and the things that went out, but more or less making this issue bringing this issue to the board more as not even so much as action that needs to take place other than the fact of them being approved, but rather that the board had enough time to be able to look at, not that you did have enough time since it was pulled, but ensuring that the board is kosher on the aspect of approving the bills that need to be approved. I want to make sure that as just speaking for an individual board member, that I remain fiscally responsible in the aspect of being able to review what money is being spent, even with us having such a robust fund balance. And with that being said, I motion that we approve these bills.
I need a second. Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the paying of the bills. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Does anyone disapprove of paying the bills? Seeing none, bills will be paid by unanimous consent.
Just a quick comment, Mr. President, just to remind the board, we went through, Ms. Wiltsey and I, a few board meetings ago, in the budget that was approved also in August, that with our financial management system, you will see these budget updates, and variance reports, bills to approve, and recurring lists that we want to put out there for transparency. This is just updates for the board, and you feel free to contact me anytime even before the board meetings if you have any questions to address. Also, you'll know that there will be quarterly full presentation from Ms. Wiltsey in terms of our status update, but you can look on the variance report to see if there's any green, yellow, red highlights, and I would recommend that if you see something that's in yellow or red, give us a call and we'll explain it to you, and then we'll also do it in public session if it's something relevant nature. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, future agenda items.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to have to go over the fund balance in our next meeting, even though it's in the consent items. I still like to be able to hear it from Shelley directly and to ask questions, more questions than just on a blanket approval of all consent items of those items. And then also, I noticed that we had not approved previous board minutes since April. I think this was the first one I've seen on the agenda since April. So I would like to be able to see those previous board minutes and to have those for public viewing and approval.
Just so make sure I'm understanding. You want the fund balance? You want the fund balance presented?
The budget variance report to be presented to the board.
Mr. President?
And any previous minutes that have not been approved.
Correct.
Right.
Oh, I was trying to get clarification. I didn't want to do side talk. We do enough already. But the aspect of just being able to have the finance variance reports taken out of the consent items so that we can be able to have a discussion. I think that, and the reason why I would concur with her on that aspect is because even though we are in a good financial space, I would like for us to be able to have the conversations so the public realizes where we are financially. Being the fact that it has been, for lack of a better term, worse, and to ensure that we're letting our shareholders, or not shareholders, but stakeholders know exactly how we're spending our dollars and ensuring that we are educated and being fiscally responsible.
Any more requests? 10.1. 10.0. Someone get us in the closed session.
Mr. President?
Yes, Director.
Excuse me, Mr. President, before we leave, I had given you information about the educational.
Point of information. Educational Foundation. Starts November, they start their fundraiser in November, is that correct, Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Okay, Director Graves asked the board to participate in the Hickman Mills Foundation fundraiser, educational foundation, virtual. So, doesn't require any action on the board's part, but we will.
Last year we always contribute, but last year I think we were silver.
Correct.
And bronze is, I think, $250. So I'm certainly willing to participate in that on the bronze level.
Okay, so what we will ask directors to donate what they can and see if we can get up to at least the silver level. At least try to get up to the silver level as we did last.
So that I can get better clarification, is this something that we make a bid toward something? Is that what you're asking?
We contribute every year. Every year that I've been on the board, we always contribute. Last year, we contributed quite a bit. You know, the board got together, so.
Yeah, just contribute.
So I just wanted to get clarification that it was something that we would need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
This question, the amount.
The amount for silver and.
If not.
The amount for bronze is $250, so we're fine.
Thank you.
250 and 500.
Okay.
And what's next? Gold?
For that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
I might go out on the corner with the little Hickman Mills bag. All right, that's it. Were you going to make a motion?
Yes, sir. I would like to motion that we go into recess and close open session and go into closed session 610-021, 1, 2, 3, 12, and 13 RSMO.
Second. Okay. It's been moved and seconded, going to different recess and go into closed session. Derived from Missouri statute 610.021, sections 1, 2, 3, 12, and 13.
Have a good night, everyone. For those of you who don't stick around.
Yeah, have a vote. Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Watcher?
Aye.
Yeah.
Hendrick?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. McGee from the crowd.
Dismiss, Carter still on this? Ms. Carter's, Mr. Townsend, aye. So it's 1, 2. Mr. McGee? Is that aye? Aye. 6-0, we're going into closed session.
Have a good night, everyone.